New Deep Dive.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on a journey into a topic that's quite literally out of this world.
Right?
But it has really profound implications right here on Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, space in the 21st century. It's transformed into this absolutely crucial domain.
It really has. It influences everything, doesn't it? Our global economy, national security, right down to, the cutting edge of tech innovation.
Exactly. The stakes are just so high now.
Yeah, think about it. The data powering your phone, the images tracking our climate. Our daily lives are, increasingly tangled up with what happens way up there.
So our mission today, our deep dive, is to unpack how the European Union is really stepping up its game.
Intensifying efforts, you could say.
Yeah, intensifying efforts to really solidify its position on the global space stage. We're going deep into their ambitious strategy.
A strategy designed to ensure Europe's autonomy, its competitiveness, and, importantly, sustainable development in space.
Think of this as your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on what's a really vital and, frankly, rapidly evolving subject.
And we've pulled our insights from a really comprehensive source, Europe's cosmic ascent, strategy, security, and innovation.
Right.
Our goal is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising facts too, just to help you grasp the full picture, the nuances.
Okay, let's start with the groundwork, the regulations. There's this pivotal piece of legislation proposed by the European Commission, July 2025, the EU Space Act.
Yes, that's a huge step, really aiming to create a more unified space market across Europe.
But what specific problems is it actually trying to solve? Why now?
Well, what's fascinating is that the Act is a direct response to a set of challenges that are all kind of interconnected and growing.
Like what?
We're seeing unprecedented orbital congestion. More stuff up there means more risk of collisions.
Right, Kessler syndrome territory?
Potentially, yeah. Then there's just intense global competition. Other space powers are moving fast. And crucially, there's a pressing need to protect the EU's own critical space infrastructure. Satellites, ground stations.
Protect them from what?
Threats. Various threats, yeah. It's really about bringing much-needed order and stability to a domain that's expanding at, almost warp speed.
And the EU seems pretty clear on the urgency. Andrius Kubilius, the Commissioner for Defense and Space, he's been quite vocal.
He has, emphasizing the need for clear, common rules. His point is that this reduces costs, reduces risks, and, tackles the threats in this increasingly crowded space.
So what are the core principles then, the three pillars they talk about? What's the philosophy behind this Space Act?
The philosophy is really one of responsible stewardship combined with secure growth. It's built on three main foundations. First, safety, meaning much stricter rules for tracking space objects and critically minimizing the creation of new debris, trying not to make the problem worse.
Okay, safety first. What's number two?
Second is resilience. This focuses on strengthening the protection of our space infrastructure. Things like cyber attacks are a growing concern, becoming more sophisticated.
Right, got to protect those vital assets.
Yeah.
And the third pillar?
And finally, sustainability. And this isn't just a buzzword here. It means requiring satellite operators to actually assess their environmental impact.
Interesting.
And actively supporting innovation in areas like on-orbit, fixing satellites in space, and debris removal, cleaning up the mess.
That sustainability piece is really interesting. It sounds like a huge challenge, though, getting a whole industry on board, especially with existing satellites. It's not just rules, it's like a cultural shift, right?
Absolutely. It's a major shift in thinking. Now, thinking practically.
Yeah.
Say I'm a small tech company in, Portugal, trying to innovate in space. How does this unified market actually help me? What's the real impact?
Yeah, good question.
Well, right now, the European space market is quite fragmented. Different countries, different rules. The Space Act aims to unify these regulations across all EU member states.
So a level playing field.
Exactly. By creating one cohesive legal framework, it significantly lowers the barrier to entry. It makes it easier for those SMEs, the startups, the innovators.
Actually get involved.
Yes. And that directly boosts the EU's competitiveness against the big players, the US, China. It helps European businesses scale more easily.
Okay, let's talk more about that crowded space. The debris issue is, frankly, alarming. The European Space Agency says over 1 million artificial objects up there, and mostly junk.
Yeah, it's staggering. Spent satellites, old rocket parts, bits from collisions.
Yeah.
It's mostly debris.
So the Space Act makes operators minimize new debris. Is that really proactive enough, or is it just a first step? What are the big hurdles to actually cleaning up the existing junk?
It's definitely a crucial first step, focusing on preventing future pollution, you could say. The Act mandates designing satellites for safe removal after their mission. That's fundamental.
Okay.
But the biggest hurdle is, as you said, the sheer volume of existing debris. Cleaning that up, that requires massive technological leaps and real international cooperation. That goes way beyond just preventing new junk.
So it's a long-term game.
A very long-term challenge, needs ongoing investment, global teamwork.
So managing the whole orbital environment, not just preventing new debris, the EU has this broader approach, Space Traffic Management, STM.
Yes, STM. It's a more comprehensive strategy.
What are the key parts of that?
It has 4 key components, aiming for a holistic view. First, assessing both civil and military needs in space. What do we actually need up there?
Right.
Second, developing advanced space surveillance and tracking systems, SST, to actually monitor all those objects. Know what's where.
Okay, tracking everything.
Third, promoting responsible behavior internationally. Diplomacy agreements, norms. And fourth, strengthening cooperation with partners like NATO for better infrastructure protection.
That SST system sounds absolutely vital. Managed by USPA, the EU agency for the space program. What's new there in 2025?
Well, in June 2025, there was an executive decision that significantly strengthened the SST system. It established a formal process for new member states to join the SST partnership.
So making it bigger, more inclusive.
Exactly. And it's more than just admin. It's a really crucial step towards building a comprehensive European space situational awareness architecture, SSA.
SSA, what does that encompass?
SSA covers both civil and security aspects. It's about getting a much clearer picture of what's happening in orbit, who's doing what, and identifying potential threats. Full awareness.
Which makes perfect sense given how vital satellites are. And that leads us straight to cybersecurity. Critical assets, but vulnerable.
Incredibly vulnerable.
How does the Space Act specifically tackle this? And are there any, cool new technologies coming to beef up security?
The Space Act brings in new regulations that adapt cybersecurity requirements specifically for space systems, making sure essential programs like Galileo, our navigation, and Copernicus Earth observation keep running reliably.
So tailored protection.
Precisely. But Europe's also looking ahead, innovating. The EU plans to develop quantum communication technology via the Euro QCI initiative.
Quantum, that sounds serious.
It is. It's not just a minor upgrade, it's potentially a leap forward in encryption, making EU satellite communications way more resilient, even against really sophisticated cyber threats in the future.
Okay, so we've got the Space Act setting the rules. Now, let's zoom out. How does this fit into Europe's bigger strategic vision, driven by some massive space programs? Let's start with Galileo, our own GPS, essentially.
Essentially, yes. Galileo is the EU's global navigation satellite system, GNSS. It offers highly accurate positioning data.
Competing with the US GPS, Russia's GLONASS.
Directly competing and offering potentially higher accuracy in some cases. Its full operational status in 2025 is a major milestone. It signifies Europe's independent capability, no reliance on others for this critical service.
A strategic asset.
Absolutely foundational.
And it's not just for finding your way on Google Maps, right? What are the other, maybe less obvious ways it impacts us?
Oh, its applications are incredibly diverse. It's crucial for precision agriculture, helping farmers optimize yields. Vital for transport and logistics, more efficient shipping. Critical in search and rescue.
Right.
And looking forward, it brings huge socioeconomic benefits. Supporting innovation like autonomous vehicles, better air traffic management. There are even plans to enhance its security features for sensitive areas. Migration, border control, maritime surveillance. It's a real workhorse.
Okay, so if Galileo is navigation, Copernicus is our eyes on the planet, Earth observation. How does that fit in, especially with things like the Green Deal?
Copernicus is indeed the EU's flagship Earth observation program. Provides precise, near real-time data on the environment, climate, the Earth's surface. It's a massive collaboration with ESA, the European Space Agency, and EMETSAT.
And its role in the Green Deal.
Crucially, in 2025, it's a key pillar of the EU's environmental policy. It directly supports those ambitious Green Deal goals by providing the scientific data and monitoring needed for effective environmental action on a continental scale.
What kind of specific uses does it have? Where is Copernicus data actually applied?
It's incredibly versatile, used for critical climate change, monitoring, tracking ice melt, deforestation, sea levels. It's indispensable for disaster management, floods, wildfires, earthquakes, helping predict and respond.
Wow.
Beyond that, precision agriculture again, controlling fish stocks, even urban planning, helping cities grow sustainably. The scope is just vast, bringing space data right down to Earth's biggest challenges.
Okay, now let's touch on two newer initiatives, also sound quite strategic. IRIS² and GOVSATCOM. What are they? What gaps do they fill?
Right, IRIS² that stands for Infrastructure for Resilience, Interconnectivity, and Security by Satellite. It's a new EU project aimed at providing secure, independent satellite connectivity.
It sure comes.
Exactly. Not just for commercial use, but absolutely crucial for military, security services, and vital private sector operations, too. It's in development in 2025, and the big goal is boosting EU strategic autonomy, having our own reliable, secure communication backbone.
Free from relying on others.
Precisely, reducing external dependencies.
And GOVSATCOM. Sounds similar, but maybe more focused.
It is similar in principle, but with a specific focus. GOVSATCOM provides secure satellite communications specifically for public bodies and critical infrastructure.
Like emergency services.
Exactly. Especially vital in crises, natural disasters, conflicts, ensuring essential services can keep communicating when ground networks might be down or compromised. It's coordinated by EUSPA, another piece of that European resilience puzzle.
So we've got the rules, the big programs. What's the overall EU space strategy for 2025 and beyond? What are the big picture goals?
The EU updated its space strategy for the 2021-2027 period, laying out four main objectives. First, maximize the benefits of space for society and the economy. Make space tech useful down here.
Tangible benefits. Okay.
Second, support a competitive and innovative European space industry. Keep Europe at the cutting edge.
Makes sense.
Third, ensure European autonomy in accessing space. That independent launch capability we talked about, a critical geopolitical point.
Absolutely. And fourth.
And fourth, promote international cooperation for sustainable space development, recognizing space as a shared resource.
That's a really ambitious slate. How much money is behind this? Is it enough to truly compete globally?
There's significant investment, $14.8 billion, allocated for 2021-2027. It's strategically targeted, developing infrastructure, funding research, supporting those SMEs and startups.
Is it enough?
Well, that's always the question, isn't it? It's a substantial commitment from the EU aimed at creating an ecosystem where innovation thrives and strategic capabilities are locked in. It's a serious investment.
Strategic autonomy keeps coming up. It's clearly a massive priority, especially now. How exactly is Europe ensuring it can get to space on its own terms?
This comes down to launchers, Europe's own rockets. The EU is heavily invested in Ariane 6 and Vega C launching from Kourou in French Guiana.
Ariane 6 had its first commercial launch in March 2025, right?
It did, delivering the CSO-3 satellite. That wasn't just a technical test. It was a critical demonstration of Europe's independent access to space. It means Europe can launch its own crucial satellites for its own needs whenever it needs to.
Without asking anyone else.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They're investing in future tech, too, through things like the European Launcher Challenge, pushing for new sovereign launch options down the line.
It sounds like the EU is very much plugged into this new space idea, that faster, more commercial approach. How are they nurturing that? What does new space look like in practice?
Yeah, new space isn't just about new companies. It's a whole different way of doing things. Often commercial funding, agile development, smaller, cheaper satellites, iterating quickly.
Instead of the old, slow, massive government projects.
Right. And the EU is actively fostering this ecosystem, supporting entrepreneurship with programs like Cassini that provides funding for startups. The European Space Program supports apps using satellite data.
So practical support.
Definitely. And we're seeing exciting innovations pop up tech for debris removal, those on-orbit satellite servicing repair shops in space, and even the quantum communication we mentioned. It's a dynamic scene.
But the conversation about space, it inevitably shifts from innovation to security and defense, especially thinking about the EU's strategic compass.
Indeed. That strategic compass, adopted March 2023, explicitly names space a contested domain.
Just like cyberspace in the sea.
Exactly, putting it on that level. It underlines how critical space is for European security strategy. It's not just peaceful exploration anymore. It's a domain where threats exist and vital interests need protection.
So fast forward to 2025. What's the EU actually doing to protect its interests up there? How are they making this contested domain idea operational?
Well, they're continuing to develop and improve those SST and SSA systems. Threat monitoring is fundamental.
Knowing what's happening.
Right. They're also strengthening cooperation with NATO on space security, shared interests, coordinated defense, and critically boosting the resilience of their infrastructure against both cyber and physical threats, making sure things keep working under pressure. It's a layered defense.
And there's this concept being floated, a European space shield. What's that about? How serious is it?
Commissioner Kubilius proposed this European space shield back in February 2025. The core idea is to unify the EU's defense efforts in space, move towards a more integrated, coordinated response to threats.
Pooling resources.
Essentially, yes. Pooling resources and capabilities for collective space security. The exact details are still being shaped, but it shows strong political will. And it's got backing from key figures like ESA Director Josef Aschbacher, which suggests it could gain real traction.
This all sounds incredibly ambitious, and it's not just Brussels driving it, right? Member states are involved too. Let's look at Poland as a case study. How is Poland contributing?
Poland's a great example. They've been an active ESA member since 2012 and have a clear plan with their national space strategy running through 2030. It's a solid national commitment feeding into the bigger European picture.
What are Poland's main goals in that strategy? Do they align with the EU's?
Key objectives include significantly boosting the Polish space sector's share of the European market, aiming for at least 3%. They're also focused on using satellite data better in public administration, think Copernicus applications.
Practical uses.
Yes. And importantly, developing their own satellite infrastructure for security and defense, which lines up perfectly with the EU's strategic compass thinking.
And who manages all this within Poland?
That's the Polish Space Agency, PolSA. Set up in 2014, they coordinate the national efforts and, crucially, help Polish companies tap into ESA and EU funding, helping them scale up.
And it sounds like Poland's achieving quite a bit in 2025. Any standout successes?
Definitely. Poland's had some really notable achievements, things like launching the Eagle Eye satellite showing homegrown capability, the ILR-33 Burstin 2K rocket crossing the Kármán line, the boundary of space, a big step for their launch ambitions.
Wow.
And then there's the upcoming mission of astronaut Sławomir to the ISS, huge symbolic and scientific importance.
These aren't just national points of pride, though.
No, they demonstrate how specialized capabilities across different member states build up the collective European effort. It creates a more diverse, more resilient space ecosystem overall.
And there's also Mission Agnes. What's the story there, beyond the science?
Mission Agnes, announced late 2025, is a Polish tech and science mission to the ISS. What's really compelling, besides the microgravity experiments, is its strong educational focus.
How so?
It explicitly aims to promote STEM science, tech, engineering, math among young people through engaging experiments, competitions, educational programs. It's designed to inspire that next generation of engineers and scientists, building the future talent pipeline for Europe in space.
Connecting this back to the bigger picture. Europe isn't doing this alone. International cooperation is vital, but so is global competition. How does the EU balance those two?
It's a balancing act. They foster strong partnerships while aggressively pursuing their own capabilities. They work hand in glove with ES. ES handles much of the R&D, the cutting-edge stuff, and with USPA, which manages the operational side running Galileo, Copernicus day-to-day. Relations between the EU and ESA actually improved significantly around 2021, clarifying those roles. ESA on R&D, USPA on exploitation.
And beyond Europe, how does the EU engage globally?
They're active in international forums, pushing for responsible behavior in space, global norms. Cooperation with NATO is key for security, and they collaborate with major players like NASA, JXA on science missions, setting global standards. It's that mixed competition and collaboration.
But even with all this, Europe faces incredibly stiff competition, doesn't
No,
it?
absolutely. Europe is the world's second largest space economy, but the challenges are immense. You have rapidly advancing powers like China and India investing huge amounts.
Right.
And then the private sector explosion, SpaceX, Blue Origin, they're fundamentally changing the game. Commissioner Kubilius himself noted concerns about falling exports and profits in Europe's space sector.
So there's real pressure.
Huge pressure. It underlines why initiatives like the Space Act and these big investments are seen as so urgent. The space race is definitely heating up again.
So looking ahead, what are the biggest remaining challenges for the EU in space? And what's the long-term outlook?
One of the biggest persistent challenges, even with the Space Act and better tracking, is still orbital congestion and existing debris, that sheer volume of junk.
Still a major problem.
A major problem that really needs continued serious investment and, crucially, better international cooperation. It affects everyone.
And funding. Is that 14.8 billion really enough for everything, given the competition and challenges?
Well, while it's a substantial budget, some big projects like Copernicus have faced funding pressures. It raises that tricky question. How does the EU balance supporting these massive essential infrastructure programs while also nurturing the innovative startups driving new space?
Finding the right mix.
Exactly. Supporting the established players and the disruptive innovators, it's a constant balancing act.
What's the really long-term vision then? Decades out, beyond the immediate hurdles.
The EU has clear sights set on developing genuinely new transformative technologies. We mentioned quantum communication, also sophisticated on-orbit servicing, maybe even more ambitious lunar and Mars exploration down the road.
Big goals.
Big goals. ESA's 2040 strategy maps it out. It's all about Europe continuing to strengthen its position as a leading global space power, ensuring it stays at the forefront of this new space age.
Okay, so to wrap this up, the EU, through things like the Space Act, its big programs, Galileo, Copernicus, IRIS², GOVSATCOM, plus strong teamwork with ESA and active member states like Poland, it's really building a solid foundation.
A robust foundation for an independent, secure, and innovative presence in space.
And all these efforts, they're fundamentally about what?
They're about ensuring Europe's security, fostering that cutting-edge innovation, and securing strategic autonomy. So Europe can compete globally and tackle huge challenges: climate change, disasters, protecting infrastructure from that ultimate high ground.
All right, so here's a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to mull over. Given this increasing militarization and commercialization of space, and Europe's clear ambition to be a major player, how might the balance of power back here on Earth be reshaped by who controls that high ground?
And following on from that, what kind of global cooperation is truly needed to make sure space stays sustainable and secure for everyone? And what unique role could Europe play, perhaps, in leading that charge?
Subscribe to New Deep Dive.